biological mosquito larva control products approved for organics on this edition of the DIY Pest Control Podcast.
Welcome to the DIY Pest Control Podcast, where you get the best info for those who want to perform their own pest control. The DIY Pest Control Podcast is brought to you by Nature Pest. Nature Pest has been providing the finest in commercial and residential integrated pest management for structural, lawns, trees, shrubs, and mosquitoes with better control and less contamination at an affordable price. For more info, visit us at naturepest.com.
Welcome back to another edition of the DIY Pest Control Podcast. I am your host, Franklin Hernandez. I am the certified operator here at Nature Pest, and we're going to be discussing biological control of mosquito larvae. And it's approved even for organic production. And before you get all freaked out about biological control, every time I talk about this in a group, some people gasp because the association with biological controls is associated mostly with biological warfare. And what biological means is that we're using there's a live organism that is killing the insect, and that's what biological means. It's living. It could be in the form of a bacteria. It could be a biorational insecticide, like a natural oil. These things are all terms that are used in professional pest management and agriculture. And if you're hearing that, you might just think, well, that is really weird. What is that all about? But in the fight against mosquitoes, like the Aedes mosquito that transmit the disease, such as the Zika virus and others around the country, like dengue, in different parts of the world and now in the Caribbean, control of mosquitoes is essential. And using biological products have been proven to be very effective and the least toxic method of controlling insects. But what most people fail to understand is how they control, and what they're really controlling is the larva. They're not controlling the adult mosquito. One mosquito can lay easily 100 egg or 100 larvae to produce 100 mosquitoes, every few days. So this is not a problem about controlling the adult mosquito, but about really controlling the larva. Insecticide sprays mostly just kill the adult. They do not kill the larvae or the eggs of mosquitoes. And the most common mistake that people make is thinking they can spray a product in their yard and they're automatically going to get control. Nothing could be further from the truth. The reality is you have to really find the mosquito breeding sites, and mosquitoes are going to be found anywhere there is stagnant or standing water. And a mosquito can lay 100 eggs in a cap full of water. That's how much water they need. So if you've got anything outside, like a pool, a little kiddie pool that it rains and you don't flip it over to get the water out, plant pots are the most common, bird baths that don't get cleaned out on a regular basis, fountains, vases, any receptacle that can hold water, even gutters that have their angle isn't right, or they're full of leaves and they're holding a great amount of humidity and water. Mosquitoes can breed there in debris. Air conditioning units that don't drain well, in the soil and it's puddling up all the time. Mosquitoes can breed there. So it's finding the water sources that's going to help you control mosquito on your property. Applying insecticide spray, mist, or foggers alone will not control mosquito populations. So you got to use IGRs, insect growth regulators that kill the larva, or biological products like BTI or bacillus, which is the little dunks or the granules. And these are often ignored by homeowners and professionals because what people really want is a long-lasting product that they can spray once and it'll last 3 to 4 weeks. And the reality is that that's going to depend on so many factors: light, photodegradation, water, temperature. If you have breeding sites and you do not deal with them, really a spray is not going to help you, and these are ignored. So as part of a mosquito integrated pest management program, you need to use insecticides, growth regulators, and even biological bacteria such as BT or BTI. Now we'll discuss a couple of them. The most common is that bacillus, which is the BT. And bacillus is a microbe found naturally in soil. It makes proteins that are toxic to immature insects called larvae. So it's a larvicide. And the bacillus, what you do is you treat the target areas where that water is sitting. So you might put a little bit of granule inside those pots, inside the pans, inside the water, the bird bath. The good thing about bacillus is it only attacks the mosquito larvae. It does not attack fish. It does not attack birds. So it's perfectly safe for those type of environments, where they use them in lakes, and they use it by aquatics and bodies of water. And they come in granule mosquito dunks, or they come in these little bits that you can sprinkle over plants, like you have bromeliads that hold water. You can treat those plants with the bacillus without causing damage to the plant. Okay, another product, bacillus is spinosad, which is another bacillus species. It is a fermented soil bacterium that it is used. And that will work kind of the same way. You can also spray those products on to the property, and it will help control the mosquito larva. The other way to use is a chemical known as an insect growth regulator. And an insect growth regulator, what it does is it causes immature molting of these insects to where they cannot become reproductive adults, and therefore it cannot breed. So a product like Pivot IGR concentrate, or Altazoid granules, or Archer IGR are great products to add. If you can, with the Altazoid, Altacid, you can just add a couple of little granules, if you have like an area with a gallon of water, and treat those areas, about once a month with that. Or you can use the Pivot or the Archer IGR, two different types of products that will control the mosquito larvae, for about 2 weeks. On the outside. So if you have areas where you have suspecting water to sit for a while, you can use it together with an insecticide, and in about every 2 weeks you can apply it. And this will conclude this edition of the DIY Pest Control Podcast. I thank you so much for listening. I will see you next time. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the DIY Pest Control Podcast. Please remember that although Franklin Hernandez is a certified and licensed pest control operator in the state of Florida, the content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. You should consult your local and state government or cooperative extension service before performing any pest control service. Remember to always read and follow label directions, because the label is the law.